What is Gareth Southgate smoking? What is wrong with this guy? I can't believe this England squad call up the list of names. It doesn't make sense to me. So I thought, you know what? I want to talk about it. I might as well make it into a video. We're going to talk about the selection that he has made for the next 2 games. I mean, it's just 2 games, so I guess he could be trialing players, but also I thought I'd do the second half of this video discussing what kind of team I would take to the Euros next summer. Based on current form, of course, we don't know what's going to happen in the next 9 months or so. So, yeah, this is going to be a bit of fun. Let's talk about the team that he has selected so far. In terms of the goalkeepers, that's fine. Pope, Pickford and Henderson. Absolutely fine with that. Then we go into defence, and straight away you'll probably realise we don't have a left back. We don't have a left... Okay, sure. Trent, Dyer, Gomez, Maguire, Walker, Trippier and Mings. These are the selections he has made so far. On the right, we've just got other players that I think could be within a shout. Going into midfield, we've got Foden, Mount, Phillips, the Leeds player, Rice, Ward-Prowse. I've got Prowls. I should probably change that, shouldn't I? That looks really funny. Hang on, let me just go ahead and edit that. Gotta love that. And then we've got Winks, Greenwood, Sancho, Rashford, Abraham, Kane, Ings, and Sterling. So, oops, didn't want to do that. What do we think about that? So the first thing I thought of was, well, where's the left back? Who is playing left back? The only player there that maybe could get away with it is Mings, but he is a 6'5" monster. You might as well play him as a centre-back, right? You've got Maguire in here, who isn't even in the country right now and is currently in trouble. Where was it? Is it in Greece? He's assaulted a policeman or something. Apparently he said, "Do you know who I am?" and got into a bit of a scuffle. I mean, of course, reports... they might not be true. We don't know what's actually happened there, but it could be that Maguire isn't going to be playing any football anytime soon. So the fact he's been selected is a little bit crazy to me. We've got Dyer in there. Not so sure that's a very good choice. It's a bit of a Dyer choice, if you ask me. Oh my God, I did it. Then going into midfield, you've got a couple of players in there that maybe deserve a shout, but also maybe it's a little bit of a weird one. Phillips, for example. Now, don't get me wrong, he looks like a really good player, but ahead of Grealish? It's difficult. I guess he comes in as more of a defensive option. Harry Winks, again, like I know he's a decent player, but Grealish, where is Grealish? I don't understand how he's not made it. And also, Saka, you know, if we're not taking a left back into these international games, why not just take Saka anyway? He can play left back pretty well, even though he's obviously more of a forward player, but he can do a very good job there. Up top, we've got Greenwood coming in, which I'm all for. Fantastic form at the moment. Sancho and Rashford, can't go wrong with that. Abraham, Kane, Ings and Sterling, I guess that's not too bad either, but there is definitely room for a couple of players that I would have liked to have seen. So I think what we'll do first is change to the team that I think should have been selected for these 2 games, bearing in mind injuries. But again, this is all just for a bit of fun. He obviously knows a lot more about the players and how they are right now, fitness levels wise, and whether they wanted to play at this time. You know, a few players might have said, I don't really want to play. I'm still working on getting back from an injury or whatever it may be. But straight away, Grealish needs to come in. So for me, so Grealish to me is definitely more of an attacking, creative option. So Phillips, Rice, Winks and Ward-Prowse are probably staying, but I think, to be fair, what about Henderson as well? Jordan Henderson, why isn't he in this team? This is clearly the amount he's allowed to take, so he can't just throw in extra players. But I think Grealish comes in, and I would probably take out Ward-Prowse, maybe? No, he's been very good at Southampton. Do you know what? The more I talk about this, the more I realise it is an absolute ball ache, isn't it? It's really, really difficult to pick which players come in. So maybe instead of removing a midfielder, we take out an attacker. And I think maybe for me, that would be Abraham. Because Abraham, although he's a good option, we've got Kane, we've got Ings, we've got Rashford. They can all play up top. Greenwood can play as a striker as well. Grealish comes in as, yes, an attacking midfielder, but also can play on this left side. So I would argue that maybe it makes sense to add Grealish into midfield here and just go with one less attacking option, because he can play in that area. So I think that's probably what I would do. I think Ings should stay. I think him and Kane are probably the best two strikers at the moment. I would argue that Antonio is in incredible form, and maybe you could bring him in there instead of Ings, but I'm still not sure about Antonio. I think he's a very physical player, really good at heading. He's a bit of a handful, but I think I'd rather Ings, to be fair. And then when it comes to bringing in Saka or just a left back in general, I would 100% take out Dyer. I just don't rate him at all. I mean, that's not just because I'm an Arsenal fan. No, it really isn't. I'd probably leave this as it is actually and just have 6 defenders just for now. We're doing one at a time here. And I would bring Saka in as another midfielder option, but technically I'd say he's a bit more... It depends what Arteta's going to do with Saka. Is he going to play a bit more of a midfield role this season, or is he going to be playing on that left wing? But just for the sake of this video, I'm going to make space for him in here so he becomes part of the England setup in midfield. So I'll just fit him in there. So that's another move that I would do. I mean, I'm not a big fan of taking 3 goalkeepers. The odds of us needing to use even just a second goalkeeper is so low, but I get it. There has to be 3 goalkeeper slots. So I think because of what's going on, I would actually take out Maguire. I know a lot of people probably won't agree with me there, but he might not even play. And the fact that Wan-Bissaka isn't in is crazy to me. But I would then take Chilwell instead, or Shaw. I think they're both of a similar level. I'd say Shaw is maybe the better player based on form. But Chilwell, I do like him. I'm a big fan of Chilwell. So he would come in as the left back. You've got 3 right backs here, which just doesn't make sense to me. So I would then be taking out Trippier, and I would bring in... So you've got Gomez, Mings is the other... Yeah, you kind of need another centre-back. So you could go into this with maybe a Stones, a Keane, or even a Dunk. Now, I'm going to throw Dunk in just because of how good he has been. I think so anyway. Let me just do this. It makes more sense to have it like that, I think. So I would take Dunk. If Gareth Southgate is trying to experiment and try other players that haven't made it in the England setup yet, then why not? We all know Stones isn't as good as he could have been. Rose, no thank you. Trippier's a good player, don't get me wrong, but I'd rather have Trent and Walker, or even Aaron Wan-Bissaka ahead of Trippier. It's crazy that Wan-Bissaka doesn't actually get in here. I mean, I guess you could take out another attacker or another midfielder and bring in Wan-Bissaka, but I'll talk about that in a moment. It's just unfortunate that we've got so many good right-backs. You've got a Smalling that can come in, Tarkowski. Maguire, of course, if he wasn't having the issues he's having, then he would be in here. God, then in midfield, you've got Henderson, Ali, Dyer, no. Barkley, Maddison, Oxlade, Loftus-Cheek. You've got Hudson-Odoi as well, Antonio, McNeil, Calvert-Lewin, Abraham. There's a lot of choices. But if I was to build my team out of the selection, so let's go ahead and tidy this up just a little bit into the top right corner so we've got some space. So these are all the players that didn't quite make the cut just yet, including Maddison, which is a little bit crazy. Maybe, but I would be starting with Kane up top, so Ings would then go onto the bench. I would be going with Sancho and Sterling, so Greenwood on the bench, Rashford on the bench, so I'd be going like that. I would then do, based off form, Saka's on the bench, Grealish is on the bench, Ward-Prowse is on the bench, maybe Phillips is on the bench as well. I'd probably go with Winks and Rice, with Mount at Cam, or maybe a Foden. Do you know what, though? I think I'd go with Mount. Do you take Winks out and bring in maybe a Ward-Prowse? Ooh, it's tough, isn't it? It is actually very tough. I think Foden gets on the bench again. Hopefully I'm not covering it. No, we're good. I think Saka is probably rightly on the bench as well there. I think that's probably what I would go with. Henderson would be going in goal. So Pickford and Pope go on the bench. I'd go with... See, this is what I was considering. Whenever I talk about the England setup, I often think that you play Trent in midfield next to another DM, and then you go with Walker or Aaron Wan-Bissaka on the right. I'd go with Gomez, Dunk, Mings on the bench, and then Chilwell on the left side. I think that's probably what I would do for these upcoming games. Of course, again, I should just say this is all for fun. I'm just playing around with the names. I love doing this kind of thing. I'd probably be doing this even if I wasn't recording. I like playing around with football lineups and tactics and stuff like that. And then going into the second half, you've got quite a good few options. You can bring in Ward-Prowse there and drop Trent to right back. You can bring in a Saka on the left side, but most likely I think a Grealish would come on and maybe swap out for Mount. But I think going into those 2 games, this is the first 11 that I would go with. But let's talk about the Euros next summer. Of course, we were meant to have the Euros this summer. It got postponed because of the pandemic. We're going there next summer. What squad would I take and what lineup would I go with? I'm a little bit stuck here. I think this is the setup I would start with. Trent would go back to right back. We go with Gomez, Maguire and Chilwell. Henderson in goal. Jordan Henderson in midfield. I'm just trying to gather who would work best with him as a midfield 3, because I'd go with a 4-3-3 with the England setup personally. It's a tough one. I'm in between Mount and Grealish playing in this kind of position here. I think maybe Grealish goes in. I'm starting to think maybe he should be playing these next 2 matches. But then you do need another kind of box-to-box midfielder. Oh, it's so tough. There are some really good players here. You can't go with Mount and Grealish. You can't put Foden in with Grealish. They're kind of like, you take one of those. They play a very similar role. So it is kind of like a Winks type player, or you go with an Oxlade. But actually, to be fair, I think maybe you go with Rice. And maybe you swap it to a 4-2-3-1. You kind of go with that. Oh, it's really tough, isn't it? What would you guys do? Please do leave your comments down below and tell me how you would set up. Do you go to 3 at the back, maybe? Maybe that would help out. You go with something like, you take out Grealish, you put Chilwell further up, Trent further up, and then you have Gomez, Maguire, and then you go with maybe a Stones in the middle. So then you end up doing like a 5-2-3. Oh, it's so tough. You could then also maybe take out Rice, do Henderson and Trent, and then you put a Wan-Bissaka in there. Oh my God. Okay, I take it back. I take it back, Gareth. I'm sorry. You are in a real tough spot. You really are. It's not easy when you think about it. I think when you read the selection, you see obvious players missing, and then you just think to yourself, oh my God, what's he doing? But genuinely, it's not easy. It really isn't easy. But I've still had some fun talking about it. I guess it is harder than I thought. So I'll be interested to know your guys' lineup. Please do tweet me, leave a comment how you would line up using the players you can see on screen. I've probably missed a couple there, but in general, I think I've got the main English players that have been doing well. It's going to be an interesting 9 to 12 months before that tournament kicks off to see how players get on this season. Will a player like Phillips still genuinely have a chance to get in the team? Are Leeds going to struggle, for example? Is Foden going to get enough game time to get into the team? Is Saka going to keep going and progressing? It's going to be really good fun. I'm really looking forward to the new season. And I'm also looking forward to the England games. I'm hoping there's going to be some fans in the stadium. There are talks that could happen. So, yeah, fingers crossed we'll get back to some normality soon. I've realised just now, what about Dele Alli? My God, when he plays well, he's really good. Anyway, that'll be it for this video. Just a bit of fun. The England lineup is no easy feat, so best of luck to Gareth Southgate. I don't envy that, but please do follow me on Twitter. Make sure you let me know your lineup. Make sure you follow me on Twitch as well, guys, and I will see you in the next video very soon.